Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention?
I am that dude, Bodkins. Patty to patty. It's ridiculous. No way. There's nobody else out there. He's your guy. Give a big round of applause for the one and only Bodkin Show. I'm going to repeat that again, folks. I didn't stutter. Welcome to the Bodkins Show. Good evening, everybody. It's another great episode of the Bodkins Show. I am that dude, Bodkins, coming from you from a remote location, my glorious hotel room here in Joplin, Missouri. Don't worry, me and the wife are not on the outs, promise you that, just because I tore my shirt off and people have been trying to slide in my DM since Super Bowl Sunday. No, just on work things, so all things are A-okay at home. In case you missed it, do check out that 7-hour aspect of our Super Bowl Sunday show. It went off great. And then on Monday, I was on this man's show. We had some great conversation. Please check it out. Welcome, as always, my co-host every Thursday night, my Puerto Rican brother, Mr. Johnny Cruz. Johnny, what's up? Hopefully the ratings went up when on your show on Monday. We did a great show. I loved coming on your show. If you missed it, please check out the Johnny Cruz show, one of the 5,000 shows that you co-host, but that one you put your own stamp on. And after 30 shows, you finally get your boy Bodkins on.
Yeah, and it was definitely the highest rated one for sure, man. it was a fun conversation as always, man. We had a good time. But no, man, happy to be here. Happy to, you know what I'm saying, put the final touches on the Super Bowl and move forward with, you know, with some of the other sports we got going on. You know what I'm saying, some college basketball, and you know what I'm saying, we got NBA, all the trade deadline stuff. So yeah, man, happy to be here as always.
Says, hey Bodkins, who won the Super Bowl? Go Chiefs. The Chiefs did win the Super Bowl, and we're going to talk about it all. He says we need to bring the Chiefs family. CD was dying. He was wanting to come on. He's working tonight, I think. But was dying trying to get back on at AK and kind of go back and forth. If you missed it, Johnny, they were kind of going back and forth last weekend, our Super Bowl preview. Speaking of the Super Bowl, I tried to get Ryan Larrison on, because he is in hiding and he's crying due to the Eagles. So instead, we got the better looking brother, Matt Larrison, joining us tonight. Matt, let's start it. I'm not going to bury the lead here. Is your brother, how sad is he? Is he crying? Is he depressed? What's going on there? How was it to watch his team go down in flames the way that the Eagles did?
Yeah, he's definitely at that stage of denial. There's 7 stages. He is just telling himself that it basically didn't happen, I think. But yeah, it was really bittersweet. It was a really good game until, you know, the refs kind of took away the opportunity for us to see, you know, who was really going to win that game on a really ticky-tack call. But yeah, he's not happy about it. We almost didn't do the fantasy show today. He still needs some recovery time, but we did it. We made it through. We just didn't talk a lot of Eagles. So
no smash flat screens or nothing like that.
No, he's not one of those fans.
Okay,
no tipping cars.
Okay.
Yeah, he's on a budget.
when you got what's he got 4 kids and a newborn, you got to play it smart, can't just be smashing TVs. Did you guys, I saw you guys were together on Super Bowl Sunday. Was that at your house, his house?
Yep, my house. We always do all the football at my house.
Okay, so did you bubble wrap the screens then just in case, or how did you do that?
You had a leash on them?
It was just a pat on the back, and as a Bills fan, I've been there. Mahomes has done it to me too. So, now you get the feeling and you understand. So hopefully he doesn't have to go through that again. I think the Eagles kind of take a dip anyways. I think a lot of the guys are going to retire. So it'll be a while before he sees a Super Bowl again, unfortunately, but he'll remember this one for a while.
I messaged him on Monday and he never messaged me back. And really all I did was apologize. I said, hey man, I'm sorry I gave the Eagles the Bodkins KOD. My sincere apologies. You can put that on me. But he never messaged me back, so I don't know if he's mad, upset with me. But Ryan, I'm sorry. When I DM you again next year for fantasy football advice, please give it back to me. That's kind of your job, but
He responds in stage 3 of the.
I was gonna say what stage was that on Monday? It probably wasn't a good time.
He'll do the apologies on stage 3.
Okay, so I should by 2 weeks from now, maybe next month, maybe by the draft, he'll reach back out to me and say he's sorry for not answering my text.
Yeah, maybe when Jason Kelsey retires, he'll start to realize
that'll be a relapse at that point in time.
True that.
Matt, let's talk about it. You kind of alluded to it into the beginning. Your thoughts on the call that was. The holding call that really ended what I thought was a great Super Bowl and made it very anticlimactic.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people were saying, oh, this was going to be the best Super Bowl. This was the best Super Bowl. That call really kind of deflated that for me. If they were able to at least give the Eagles a chance to tie with a drive or even go to overtime, could have been the best Super Bowl of all time. But unfortunately, that kind of dampened things. And really, it dampened things because that hold was on a play where they weren't trying to get it to the receiver. He was really just throwing it away. There was also illegal hands to the face on one of the defensive linemen. So I guess we're getting ticky-tacky here. The Eagles had a 10-point lead at halftime. They really shouldn't have given them an opportunity to get to that point. But if we're talking about the climactic things of it, I just thought it was kind of, it just doesn't help the NFL for people who think that it's rigged. It really doesn't. It just makes it seem like, well, this is what they wanted. And I really, truly feel like the Eagles could have came down and drove because, they were really firing on all cylinders most of the game, at least to get a field goal and go to overtime. So it was really just disappointing. It kind of was really flat. It was kind of like, oh, we got to give it to this team. I know that's not what really happened, but, it just kind of seems that way. So it was definitely an ending people are never going to forget. And I think that the NFL will take note about that and think about those things because really the game was called perfectly since before that. I mean, there wasn't really any calls I was blown away by. They were letting people play. But boy, if you could have a call that would ruin everything, that summed up the season for me as a Bills fan right there. So it is what it is. Eagles fans are upset. Probably everybody that's not a Chiefs fan is upset by that call, I would think. You put your favorite team in that position and you're absolutely irate. So it's just at least the Eagles already have a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I just think I'm not even upset that the Chiefs won. Like everybody was like, "Oh, you mad the Chiefs won?" I'm not upset that they won. I could care less that they won the damn game. Like kudos to them for the 10-point comeback. I don't really blame the call on how the Eagles lost and the Chiefs won because I blame the Eagles defense because where the hell were they? Mm-hmm. Where was Hassan Reddick? Where was Nagano Sue? Where was Robert Quinn? Where was this defense that was sacking everybody all season? They had zero, a big fat donut of sacks. What I'm upset is of what we were robbed. Like you said, right. We were robbed of something that could have been or something special. I think, and it's not even like he wasn't even throwing the ball the ball wasn't even close to Juju. That's right. The damn thing is the ball was 8 yards away. It didn't look like the hold was stopped him from getting to the ball. So it was just a bad call at the wrong time. And I said this before. I equate it to senior prom night. You and your buddies get together. You guys are all dressed up. You got your suits and ties on. You guys get on the dance floor. You're dancing. Here comes the prom queen. She's hitting on you. You're hitting on her. You guys go back to your place. Things are getting hot and heavy. She's kissing on your neck. You're kissing on her neck. You go to the bathroom, and then you come back out and she's just laying there flat dead. And your thing kind of goes like this and you're just holding it in your hand. And that's just kind of what happened to the Super Bowl. The best explanation I can give it to you.
That analogy right there never gets old, man. But I think Matt hit it there both of you did. Disappointing. Like you said, it just robbed us of an opportunity to see a great finish. Either way, even if Philly wound up getting stopped, it still would have been exciting to see, Kansas City stop them or whatever. But It was a ticky-tack call. Yes, it was a hold. But, yeah, that ball was 10 yards, 12 yards over his head. So he didn't impede him from making the play. And they were letting them kind of be physical all game. So if you're going to let them play like that all game, why get so ticky-tack right there at the end, especially if you know, and I know because I'm a believer of if it's a strike in the first inning, it's a strike in the ninth inning. I hate the whole, you got to swallow your whistle in basketball. No, if it's a foul, it's a foul. If it's a penalty, it's a penalty. But again, just be consistent. So if you're letting them get away with some stuff in the first quarter, then you need to let them get away with it in the fourth quarter as well. And that's kind of what Bradbury was saying when he said that he thought he was going to get away with it because it was going on all game. You know what I'm saying? So it's disappointing that we weren't able to see something special because it was so much fun. That game was a lot of fun, back and forth. Philly, like you said, Matt, they had every opportunity to win that game. Man, that fumble in the first half was heartbreaking right there. And then I wound up texting Nick once they had to kick that field goal and we're only able to go up 6. That was game. You know what I'm saying? Because you're too close to Kansas City and you give him Mahomes. An opportunity to beat you. He's going to beat you. So it sucks that it ended that way, but it was ultimately it was a really good game that just got kind of spoiled there at the end. That's all.
Yeah, I want to comment on comment here. Jalen Hurts' Hail Mary was so perfect. Haha. Well, that's digression to the field being so perfect as well. Right. You could see, you watch the video, he slips on that awesome field that they were playing on. Matt, like, how the hell did we get to the Super Bowl, the biggest game of the year, and we're playing on the worst damn field, and it's not even weather?
Yeah, so they actually were working on that field for 2 years, specifically for the Super Bowl. They would drag it out every day for it to get sunlight because it's a type of grass that they were growing, and they would slide it back in. $800,000 to watch a bunch of guys slip at a circus fair. Both sides were super unhappy with it. There was piles of cleats, just on the sidelines because people had to change out their attire. I think that if Roger Goodell is upset about anything, he's probably embarrassed by that. And I just don't really understand why they would try something new on the most important game. It really seems to me like they would want to wait. Right. No, do what you know, and that way you don't have to have any scrutiny. But it was really bad. I hope they never use that again. I don't know what it was. It's some type of grass, I guess, that they can grow artificially. But it was terrible. It was just a mess. It was like partially turf, partially grass, and the players were saying it was like wet rubber.
Yeah, Jake Elliott slips in the second half on the kickoff and rolls his ankle. What if he got hurt, seriously gets hurt there, and the Eagles need him to kick a damn game winner, and he rolls his damn ankle because you got a shitty-ass field?
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of times where, receivers are trying to make cuts, slip. I mean, that's an ACL tear right there, easy. These guys run so fast and they pivot so fast. They couldn't have been happy, and again, this is the most important game of the season, and you're going to allow that. I'm just glad it didn't affect one team and not the other. It affected both teams. Right. It was just ridiculous in its own set, but bonehead move by the NFL. Another bonehead move, I guess.
Yeah, that's perfectly said too. That the Super Bowl is not the time to try new shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, seriously. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of crazy there. And I mean, I actually heard a lot of people talking about how that might have affected Philly's pass rush because they couldn't get a good, a good step, when they were trying to rush, which I don't know if that's just, sour grapes or whatever after the game or whatever. But I mean, it sounds like a legitimate thing that could have been happening, especially when you see everybody slipping all over the place. So you don't try nothing new in the biggest game of the season. That was just stupid. So hopefully we don't see nothing like that again going forward.
He says excuses are like assholes. Everyone has one and they all stink. Yeah, I'm not making excuses for Philadelphia. Their defense did not show up in that game. I said on Sunday's pregame, for the Eagles to win, they got to get 3+ sacks and get some hurries on Mahomes. Mahomes had a lot of time to throw, and then when he did, even on the bad ankle, which he got re-aggravated, seemed to be able to run.
Bro, he was running away from people in that long run. He like pulled away from people on a bum ankle. So
let me ask you guys this. Jalen Hurts outplayed Patty Mahomes. I mean, maybe because he was on the field a little bit more. Would you have given Travis Kelce said it too, like in one, maybe on his podcast that, hey, there ain't no damn reason why Jalen Hurts couldn't have been Super Bowl MVP.
Well, they don't give it.
Yeah,
they never give it to the loser, man. Not in football.
It's been a long
time. I've never
time.
seen that.
It's happened one time, I think, in history.
Right.
Like the 70s, I think, or something like that. Yeah, I think that he definitely outperformed him. Philly had the perfect game plan, especially in the first half. They kind of fell apart in the second half. They didn't really continue what they were doing in the first half, or at least they weren't as successful. But they did what they needed to, control time of possession, which was a huge difference. Run the football well. Jalen Hurts had, I think, 2 or 3 rushing touchdowns on his own. So he had a monster day. He did everything right besides losing the ball on that fumble return touchdown, which kind of, I guess you could say, costed him the game, but didn't really. But there is no excuses for Philly. They were up by 10 points at halftime. The call is really just a robbery of, I don't want to say fair play, but really that's how I feel is, these guys are professionals. These guys pay, they make a lot of money. They dedicate their whole life to this sport, and they're going to not finish out the championship game off of a play that nothing would have changed if they hadn't have called that. The ball wasn't going to be caught by Juju. It was intentionally thrown away on purpose. So I get it's not an excuse because Philly lost that game. They lost because they didn't execute in the second half. But we were, as fans, robbed for sure of a good ending because that was the time they wanted to call that penalty. Because, I mean, realistically, there's a lot of times where penalties aren't called. And if a penalty is a penalty, then they should be called at all times. But humans are humans, and they don't always get calls correctly. So it's unfortunate, but again, Eagles had a 10-point lead. They should have finished it out.
The other thing about that call too is nobody would have said anything if it wasn't called.
That's the thing.
That's how ticky-tack it was.
There was only one person calling for that penalty, and that was Patty Mahomes.
Right. So
quarterbacks call for every penalty every time.
But it's not like KC fans or anybody would be like, "Oh my God, they missed that call." No, nobody would have said anything. They would have kicked the field goal, and then we all would have been, entertained with possibly an amazing ending. But yeah, it was just such a perfect cock block, perfect whatever, what I'm saying? And especially if you ain't got a dog in the race, what I'm saying? You definitely feel like you got robbed up there. Of course, Philly fans feel some kind of way about it. And of course, Kansas City fans are happy as hell. But as far as like NFL fans, what I'm saying? Like that was such a good game, man. You just wanted to see, especially when Philly just went down the field, scored a touchdown and the 2-point conversion to tie it. So it was just like, it was just super exciting going down the stretch there. And then it was just like, okay, we're just going to Kansas City's just going to win it.
Matt, how good the bets hit? How good you do on your Super Bowl picks?
Oh, everything was fine until Philly lost. If you had a Philly in your parlay, it was over. The numbers were right. I mean, everything was really close. The score was really close. I said on our pregame show my jaw wasn't going to drop if Kansas City won, which they did. But in terms of what we expected, Travis Kelce touchdown, Jalen Hurts got in the end zone. The only surprise, I guess people would say, is Miles Sanders had a absolutely horrible game. He fumbled on, I think, the first catch he had and pretty much had to hide the rest of the game. They used Gainwell and Boston Scott quite a bit, and they were quite successful. But other than that, everybody who we expected to performed. Mahomes obviously still had a pretty decent game. Jalen Hurts had a great game. And Isaiah Pacheco had a great game too.
He was killing it. Pacheco was an absolute dog. I mean, they'd hit him, he'd bounce back up. One time I thought they left him for dead, and he still got back up. I mean, he was an absolute stud. And how about the awareness on Pacheco too on that scamper where he could have scored a touchdown?
Oh, that was McKinnon.
Oh, was it? And brought him right into the end zone.
McKinnon could have scored a touchdown, right? Like. Yep. Hey, that's what everybody wants to do when you score a touchdown, but smart by not, hey, I'm just going to sit this one out and kneel it. We're going to kick a game winner, and that's going to be it.
Yeah. it was a great game plan by Andy Reid too. I mean, the short passing game, the actually, sticking with the running game, you know what I'm saying, to the screen game. I mean, is there any better coach at designing screens than Andy Reid? I don't think there is. Maybe Shanahan, you know what I'm saying, might be in there with him too, but I think it was just, we talked about it on the game day show, you know what I'm saying, before the Super Bowl about, coaching, being a factor. And I think Andy Reid had the perfect game plan. I mentioned it, on the Monday show with you, Nick, that, that play where they had the easy touchdowns where they were wide open on that kind of, fake inside go outside was a play that Doug Peterson and the Jaguars ran against the Eagles earlier in the season. Doug Peterson, of course, off of the, Andy Reid tree. So, you know what I'm saying? That's doing your homework and your scouting, and, they found a weakness there and they exposed it. So props to Andy Reid, man.
Yeah, the two walk-in touchdowns, just untouched. Yep. That can't happen in the Super Bowl. Before we get to our next topic and talk a little college basketball, little Jonathan Cruz wants to know from you, Matt, Bills have a lot of pending free agents. Who, in your opinion, would you like to bring back?
Absolutely Jordan Poyer. It has to be Jordan Poyer. I know that Tremaine Edmonds is probably not going to be on the team. Edmonds is a great player. Tackle machine, not a good blitzer, not the most pageant-rated cover linebacker either. Bills need blitzing ability. They need a blitzing linebacker, so they're going to find somebody else. But you got to have Poyer and Hyde back. That was one of the reasons why Buffalo wasn't as successful, was they were missing Von Miller and Micah Hyde this year. And Trey White was kind of coming back. He had that ACL injury. So if anything, they've got to get Poyer back, and they got to trade for D-Hop.
You think Poyer's gonna ask for like top safety money?
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I think that he should, if in his best interest.
Do they got the cap to give him to kind of let him to reset the market?
Yeah, really, what it is they can't keep all of these guys. Like, some of them are going to have to go. I did read that they're thinking about Allen potentially will do a restructure so he gets some bonus money, and then a lot of that money will either get pushed back or basically frees up cap space for them, but they're not going to be able to keep all these guys. They're going to have to let go of a few of them, especially probably Edmonds, because he's very young. I think he's only like 25 because he came in,
bro. He's 24.
He came in the NFL when he was 19.
Yeah.
So he's going to get a huge payday. He has almost 100 tackles every year. He's a great player. But Buffalo can't stand to lose the safety coverage for sure. I think that Poyer has to come back.
Yeah, and Allen's the perfect quarterback because he will restructure. You know what I'm saying? He seems like the type that he'll do whatever he needs to do for other guys to be able to get paid to keep the team competitive. So that's a good thing about Allen. I think at least he seems like that type of guy.
Yeah, I think that he definitely eats his salary cap, but he's willing to make those directional moves. In the years that he gets his money to. I mean, he wants to win. I think he wants to win almost as badly as obviously the top competitors, just the way that he is. So, get Keenan Allen, get D-Hop. You got to do something like that, and then we'll be fine.
Woo. That D-Hop money is that's a lot of money right there.
They ain't getting D-Hop.
Keenan Allen and Stephon Diggs.
I would rather have Keenan Allen. I mean,
insane,
the
route running, bro.
For him. That's the perfect receiver for Josh Allen.
So you think they need to get another playmaker?
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, Gabe Davis is not a great number 2, and Buffalo has a lot of really good pieces in the receiving court, but they don't have that extra stud. Like, you look at Cincinnati, they have T. Higgins. Even Tyler Boyd is really good. All these teams have really good, solid number 2s, and Buffalo kind of just has a bunch of guys that are just, somewhat successful, but not at that level. Everybody double covers Diggs, and it just, it kind of falls flat for Buffalo. So I think if they had another player like a D-Hop, a Keenan Allen, one of these top tier guys, it would definitely take a lot of pressure off of Diggs and the person that they bring in, kind of like A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith.
Yeah, and Dawson Knox will eat too if you get another receiver like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Davis is a really great number 3, but he's not a good number 2,
Right.
No,
and that Shakir kid is going to be good too, man. That young kid.
Yeah, I really like Khalil Shakir. He can definitely be, one of the speed guys that they have. We lost Jameson Crowder too at the beginning of the year, so, that's another guy that they need to bring back and see what he can do because he's really good too. But if you can get one of these guys, I mean, Keenan Allen. I mean, if you can get Keenan Allen, Chargers have to get rid of him.
He's a stud.
Yeah, and he probably would take less money. He's been hurt. He's older.
He's trying to win too. He's trying to win too.
Yeah,
he could win in. He could win in. I about said San Diego.
I was about to say stop.
You don't think so?
LA has.
He can if they weren't the Chargers.
LA has so much dead money that they have to let him go. There's no way that they're gonna be able to.
Hey, come on to Green Bay, baby.
Justin's about to get
Green Bay
paid, bro.
Especially without Aaron Rodgers.
Hey, well, don't say that yet.
Is he locked up? Is he locked up in the retreat right now?
Hey, that's really what I'm doing. I'm trying to find which house Aaron's locked in, so I can search for him this weekend while he's locked in his 4-day retreat and convince him.
He turned off all the lights so he didn't have to see any more green.
So the next big event, obviously, we got the NBA All-Star Weekend coming up. We talked a little bit NBA a couple weeks ago, but we got to get ready for March Madness. We are 1 month away from filling out them brackets. We'll fill out ours here on the show as well, and we'll kind of break it down when all that happens. But Matt, talk us about who the hell's the number one team in this country, because it seems like nobody wants to be the number one team. We just saw Alabama lose last night to Tennessee. Purdue has lost a few times when they've been ranked number one. Houston has lost a few times when they're ranked number one. What the hell's going on here in college basketball, and why does anybody want to be the number one team?
Yeah, I had to really dive in and look at some numbers here because there's really not a lot of teams. There's no former Kentucky's, Dukes that you're like, this is the best team. I'm surprised this team hasn't gone undefeated. Gonzaga a few years ago. Right. So out of all the top 25 teams that are currently top 25, there's 2 teams with no top 25 wins. That's FAU, San Diego State. They're not that, they're all right, but they're nothing. Ranked teams with 1 top 25 win. Houston, they're the second team. They have 1 top 25 win.
Yep.
Okay. They lost to
They
Alabama.
don't play nobody in Conference USA, though.
Right.
But when they have had opportunities, they played Alabama earlier in the season, lost. It wasn't a blowout, but they lost. Right. So, I'm not super confident in them. And then you go to these teams with 2 wins in the top 25. Number 4, UCLA has 2. I don't know what the, committee or whoever does this is in love with UCLA for, but, their wins are, they lost to Arizona. This team has gotten massacred by USC. They just lose to a lot of their Pac-12 rivals, but they're number 4 in the country. I just don't understand that. In my eyes, they're very fraudulent. And then Purdue. We just saw Purdue lost today. They've had a horrible,
back-to-back losses. They lost to Maryland today, right? Like, did I just see that right?
Yeah.
That game was final.
Yeah. Lost to Maryland, lost to Indiana. This team is – I don't know what this team is. They only have 3
lost to Northwestern. Northwestern just beat Purdue and Indiana in the same damn week.
Yeah.
And they're not even ranked, but they're going to be next week, guaranteed.
Right.
Yeah. They have 3 top 25 wins. One of them was Ohio State, which is not a top 25 team anymore. And the other wins came earlier in the season. This team is, I can't find a bigger fraud than Purdue. I think that they have kind of – everybody's figured out that they're not in the top 5. They just haven't fallen yet. But March Madness is really close, and they're going to get in there. And when you're filling out your brackets, that's going to be one of the teams that people are going to look at and say, they could be a second round exit because they're very fraudulent in my opinion.
You don't think Big Zach Edey can lead that team to a deep run?
Well,
that's the thing is they have something that nobody has. In Zach Edey. Like, Edey is a throwback, back to the basket type player that they don't even play that type of basketball anymore. Everybody's spreading it out, and they can just dump it down to him whenever they need something. You don't think he can't carry that team further in?
Well, if he can, they should have by now. I mean, if you look at the schedule for Purdue, obviously they play in the Big Ten, so they do have competition. They play Northwestern, they play, Michigan, Ohio State. These are not slouch teams. Penn State, Michigan State. This is good competition. And they only have 3 top 25 wins. Ohio State is not a top 25 team. That's one of the ones that were counted. And what is their resume win where you go, yeah, I feel pretty confident in Purdue. I just don't see it. All season long they've kind of just been trickling along, barely beating teams. He is a great player, but it's you got to show me. You got to show me what you can do, and you've had all season to do it. So, with that being said, though, teams with the team with the most top 25 wins in college football or college basketball, I'm sorry, is Iowa State. They have 7. And the Big 12 loves to beat up on each other. I mean, Kansas State has either lost and won against, I think, every Big 12 team this year. They go back and forth with everybody.
And they're number 12 in the nation right now.
Yes, and they're a solid basketball team. Iowa State, they can lose to a nobody and win against a really good team. It's just, that's where we're at in college basketball right now. There's not really a solidified team where you're super confident that they're just going to totally dominate. The good news is there's a few teams. Alabama, obviously, they did lose to Tennessee a couple of days ago. They have 5 wins over top 25 teams, and those wins are against teams, ranked in the top 10. These are successful teams. They're not Ohio State, that just, North Carolina that was ranked earlier on in the season. You have them. You have Texas. Texas is very good. Texas is another team that plays in the Big 12, and the Big 12, it's hard to beat every Big 12 team, continuously throughout the season, especially when you see them multiple times. So I like Texas a lot.
Are you worried because Beard was fired? Are you worried about Texas there with the new coach and all the I don't really say trauma, but the ups and downs that they've had? Because it does seem like they weathered that storm of getting a new coach and have continued to play well. But then at times, man, they have lost some big games.
Yeah, and I think that they've done well with that change. It's going to be, we got a few more games left before March Madness, so we're going to get to see a little bit more. I mean, that's a super talented team, and they've shown that all season, so they definitely have some adversity to work through. They haven't fallen off the cliff by any means, so I think that, the team is still there, but we'll see what these next, 5-6 games before the March Madness brings for them. But they're definitely a team to watch. They're super talented. They have good wins. And then just looking at some of these other teams, we talked about, some teams that are not ranked at all. Pittsburgh, they're the number 1 ACC team. They're top ACC. They beat Virginia, who is ranked, let me see here, 7. Also, my opinion, a kind of suspect team. They've lost. Virginia's had some pretty big losses. But Pittsburgh not ranked at all. Gonna maybe win the ACC.
That don't make no sense, man.
They're the number 1 team in the best conference in all of basketball.
Number 1 team in the ACC, but yeah, Virginia, the U is ranked 15. NC State is ranked 23rd, but Pittsburgh's the best team in the ACC, and they're not ranked at all. Like this is a very wide open season. Like we talked before the show, none of the blue bloods, what I'm saying, like Duke, Kentucky, North Carolina, none of those guys are ranked right now, but similar to similar. Go ahead if you want to ask the question, and I'll go on with it.
I had two questions here, Matt. My first question is about the Big 12. It seems like, because I'm a Big 10 guy, it seems like they're like the Big 10 of a couple of years ago, where they got so many great teams and they beat up on each other, and they'll probably get a bunch of teams into the tournament. But are we worried, much like the Big 10 used to do, they beat up each other so much in the regular season, we hype them up, and in the tournament they absolutely shit the bed? Can one of them teams in the Big 12, how far are we betting on Texas, Kansas, or even K-State to make a run? And are we worried that they're going to beat up so much each other, and by the time March Madness ends, they're not going to be able to have much left in the tank?
Well, the thing is if you look at the SEC and the Big 10, also it's very similar. I think the Big 12 definitely has a lot more camaraderie. They go back and forth more, I think. But even the SEC, Alabama's lost to an SEC team. I think Alabama's probably the most secure team I feel that I would be most comfortable with right now, even though they just lost to Tennessee. But yeah, the Big 12, Kansas is always really good. I feel very confident with them. Texas, they're super talented. We'll see how they do with the adversity. Iowa State, again, 7 wins. They can beat these teams. Top 25 wins, 7 top 25 wins. They're a good team. Sometimes they just fall flat and lose. You just can't do that in March Madness. You got 6 games you got to win in a row or something like that, 5.
Yeah.
So I like the Big 12. I think if I were to pick a conference that has the most, skill, I would say it's the Big 12. But I think the best team is Alabama. I think that they, obviously you're not going to win every game in college basketball. But I think that they're the most complete team right now. I think that they are the ones, if I had to pick a favorite, I would pick them. But the Big 12, we could have a couple of teams in the final 8 for sure in the Big 12. I like Kansas State, Iowa State, Kansas, and Texas. They're all really, really solid. Even Oklahoma's pretty good, and they're not even ranked, and they're probably not going to make the March Madness. So
not for nothing, but a lot of these conference, tournaments are going to be hella fun, bro. You know what I'm saying? Because, like I said, it's so wide open. So there's gonna be a lot of teams, like you said, beating up on each other. But yeah, the conference tournaments right before March Madness is gonna be pretty interesting because, like you said, a lot of teams are gonna be beating up on each other, especially to try to get try to win the conference title in that tournament. So they're gonna be putting it all out there. But be careful, just like last year where North Carolina was ranked, I think they were at 8. And then they want to make it a run. So that's where you got to be careful for a Duke or a Kentucky or somebody like that, getting a lower seed and then kind of having an easier path, to get to the Elite 8 or the Final 4 or something like that. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. I kind of like when it's wide open like this. You know what I'm saying? I mean, yes, it's nice when you have that one dominant team or whatever to see if somebody can kind of upset them or whatever. But it's kind of fun when it's wide open like this. You know what I'm saying? To where pretty much anybody can beat anybody on any given night. The only thing that gives me a little worry about some of the, like the Iowa States is, 2-6 away from their home court kind of worries me because when you go to neutral sites, it's, what I'm saying? TCU's 2-6, Kansas State 3-6. So that, even Texas is 4-4 away from home. So, once they're not in their, comfort zone of being at home, they play a different game that, so we'll see what happens once we get to the neutral sites and stuff. But I'm looking forward to. I always like the conference championships though. Those are always fun tournaments right there.
Matt, where the hell are all the blue bloods? Where is Kentucky? Where is Duke? Where is North Carolina? There was a part of the season. Now Kentucky's on the bubble because they were cold, then they got hot, and now they've almost played themselves out again. There was literally a petition to fire John Calipari. Are you fucking serious, Kansas or Kentucky? That is who you going to get better than John Calipari? That guy's not walking through the door. A guy who can go out and get you a first round pick, NBA year after year, and put you in the top 25, compete for titles. What are they thinking in Kentucky, and where the hell are the rest of the blue bloods?
Yeah, don't forget Syracuse and Michigan too. Both of those teams are pretty.
Yeah, Michigan State as well.
And Michigan State, you've got Michigan State, North Carolina, you've got Duke, you've got Kentucky, like you said. I mean, I think the biggest problem is when the season starts for college basketball, these blue bloods, they get a lot of love, and they should. I mean, these teams are usually going to have success. That's why when you go to the March Madness and you look at these teams, you want to look at the blue bloods because they've had success in that. The coaches have had success there. They've had experience.
North Carolina was ranked number 1 preseason. They're not even ranked now.
Right, exactly. I know Gonzaga was up pretty high at one point. You had Michigan State was ranked at one point. They even lost to Notre Dame, which is my team, and Notre Dame is terrible. So it just goes to show that, rankings aren't everything. And just because it's a name doesn't mean it's a skill and doesn't mean that that's the team. That's what we have this year. So I think that's really what it was. But some of these teams are still going to make the March Madness, and you have to look out for them because Tom Izzo, he is an excellent coach. He is not going to let somebody just sneak right by him. He could easily get a few wins in March Madness. It could be one of them Cinderella stories for sure. I think that North Carolina has a chance to squeak in. I don't know. I think of all the teams, I think that probably Michigan State will probably get a way to squeak in. Maybe Kentucky. We got a couple games left this year, but I mean, me personally, it's kind of nice to see a different change of guard. I liked when Michigan was doing really well. That was kind of cool. It was just different. I mean, I'll never like when Alabama's good. That's just, from college football.
Right.
They can't have both, right? Like, hey, be good at one, but don't.
Right.
Hey, you want to be great at college football? Be great at college football. By God, don't come into college basketball now.
Right.
Like, that would have been like Duke being really good at football. Like, hey, you guys own basketball. Don't start trying to come over here in football and try to own something.
I think the coaches retiring. You know what I'm saying? Like, Mike Krzyzewski left. Say Roy Williams left from UNC. Even though Hubert Davis, he did a good job last season. Making that run in the tournament. Excuse me, when they were ranked 8th, but they're falling for the same thing that I just mentioned about some of the other teams. I mean, UNC 2-6 on the road, Duke 2-6 on the road. Like, that's insane. Virginia Tech 1-8. They can't win away from their home court, and that's what I'm saying. You can't. Yeah, you can't win a title. You definitely ain't gonna do much damage in the tournament if you can't win away from your home court. So it's gonna be, like I said, I think it's wide open. But you mentioned it with Tom Izzo, his experience. I would not be surprised. Syracuse, I would not be surprised.
Yeah.
Teams like that with those veteran coaches to make a run.
Yeah, Syracuse is close. They need at least probably 4 more wins and a good conference play to get in. But this is Boeheim's last run, so he's going to give it everything he's got. But
is he done after this year, Jimmy Boeheim?
Oh, absolutely. So I live about an hour and a half away from Syracuse, and there's nothing but Syracuse fans down here. I mean, everywhere you look, it's either Yankees or Syracuse, and Boeheim is a legend down here. So he's all over the local news and everything too, and he has said that he is done. So I know he argues with it about it sometimes, but he got to coach his son, and it was a big deal. He's kind of overstayed his welcome. You should have seen some of the press conferences that he has had recently. He sounds like an angry old man for sure.
He's always been an angry old man, bro.
Yeah.
Even when he was young, he was an angry old man.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, Syracuse is gonna get it. Like, if they get in, I always put them in my bracket, at least to the Sweet 16, because what happens is they always middle of the road in the conference. Now, they used to run the Big East back in the day. Tanner said Big East is trash. Well, Syracuse isn't in the Big East in their ACC now, so I need you to get that right, Tanner. But when they would do that is, like, the reason they make these runs is because, like, nobody knows how to handle that 2-3 zone. It's like the first time they're experiencing it. So I always like, hey, Syracuse, watch out for Syracuse if they get in, no matter what seed. They're going to give at least the first 2 rounds trouble. And then usually by the Sweet 16, they're going to play one of these leader teams and a team, or possibly another ACC team, a team that they've played, who gets to see that zone more regularly. But they could play Houston in the first round or something, just throwing out a team. Houston doesn't see a zone like that all season. And then Syracuse gives them fits, and the game's real close and it's low. And I'll take Jimmy Boeheim and Syracuse any day of the week at that point in time.
Yeah, and also, too, if you get ranked in the 8th or 9th seed in the March Madness bracket, you're going to play teams like St. John's, Creighton, teams that don't really have a tough schedule, but they're still a decent team where you can potentially get that win. It's not one of those power conferences, even like Wichita State, these teams we see every year that, hover around 7 to 10 in the rankings. So that's another opportunity for these Blue Bloods to get a win and to push through into the conference or the March Madness bracket. But it'll be interesting. These teams, the season's not over. I mean, like, look at teams like Pittsburgh, Northwestern. They're really coming out at the end of the season. They're going to make the March Madness. Those are the teams you have to look out for. And I see a comment before you jump onto it, Nick, where anybody going to have a perfect bracket this year. I would be amazed. This is probably one of the hardest years to have a good bracket because it's so, the dichotomy of this season has just been absolutely, animal for, deciding. I mean, I've made some bets on basketball I had to give up. It's just these teams, like Johnny has alluded to, when they're not at home, it's just they can't seem to win. They could be heavy favorites and they just can't seem to win. It's really been a huge factor this year. So there was a while I thought Tennessee was an absolute fraud, and then they just went out and beat Alabama. It's like, so anything can happen. But in terms of skill, like I said earlier, I think Alabama's probably the best team. Look at, the teams, like Kansas, Texas, those top teams in those big power conferences to hopefully, give us a good show. And, look out for these teams like Iowa State because, they know how to win. They know how to beat top 25 teams for sure.
Yeah, I'd like to look for those veteran teams, those teams that have been around a while that aren't maybe doesn't have quite the one and dones.
Right.
Iowa State is one of those teams. K-State's a veteran-laden team. Like those are the type of teams that can go deep into the tournament because they've been there and done that as well. So let me ask you this, Matt. Is there a team that's kind of we'll not talk the bracket yet, but give me your 4 number ones that if the season ended today, headed into March, you would give your 4 number 1 seeds.
Well, the teams I think should be number 1. You got Alabama, of course. Alabama's definitely. I'm not going to say UCLA because I don't know why they're number 4. I would rather have Arizona. I think that they've beaten UCLA and they're just a much better team in my opinion. And then it's close. You can't say Purdue. Purdue they have not capitalized. Houston is number 2, but unfortunately they haven't really beat anybody. Only one top 25 win. I guess I'll give them number 1 because of where they are ranked. And then lastly, you've got a couple of options. You could go Texas, you could go Kansas. It's got to be one of those Big 12 teams. But there's like we've talked about, there's no clear cut here. I mean, I'm not in love with Houston. Obviously Alabama's really good. Arizona is very good. I like them a lot, actually. They're kind of under the radar.
It's the Pac-12. That's why, because we're out here in the Central and Eastern time zones. We don't stay up that late to catch the Pac-12.
Yeah, and they've lost to their comrades in the Pac-12 somewhat, but they have a lot of really good quality wins, and they beat up the teams like UCLA. I think Arizona's the most dominant team in the Pac-12. I don't know how UCLA is ahead of them. It makes no sense to me. But they have some losses. I believe they lost to USC. So, it's tough. As Tanner says, Pac-12 is all frauds. It seems like most of these teams are fraudulent, but then, somebody's got to win. So we're going to see who that's going to be. If I'm going to bet, I guess I'll take the favorite, which is Alabama right now. I'm sure they'll drop a spot or two because they lost to Tennessee, but I like them the most. I think that they have played enough competition and won enough, sharp games to really feel comfortable that they can get the job done. There's not really a schedule for them where they haven't really played anybody and you don't feel confident when they go up against a really tough team that they can't get the job done. So I'll bet on Alabama, but I'm not going to put a lot of money on any of this stuff this year. This is going to be a sit and watch, and hopefully we get a Cinderella story. I think that would be pretty cool. Maybe like hopefully not a blue blood, maybe like a Marquette or something like that. That'd be pretty interesting.
There's always some school that will make a run. Loyola Chicago a couple years ago, where they have like 2 back-to-back runs at the Final Four, looking like a dude who what was that guy's name? The heavier set dude. There's a big guy. Looked like he was just out there playing YMCA ball, like you'd find him in the gym. You know who I'm talking about? I can't think of his name.
I can't think of the name right now either, bro.
Crude or something like that. I can't remember his. I don't know his name.
I think. Sorry. I think the conference championship is going to help decide as far as the top 4. Unless Houston stubs their toe in their conference, championship in their conference tournament, they'll probably get a number 1 seed. Alabama. I wouldn't be surprised if Kansas winds up winning their conference tournament and getting a number 1 seed. Purdue. Everybody's hyping up Purdue because of Edie and stuff, but I don't know. I guess if I had to pick 4, I'd go Alabama. I'd say Houston because I think they'll win their tournament. I'm going to say Kansas, and then I'm going to say somebody's going to make a run like a I guess you got to give it to Purdue, man. I guess you give it to Purdue. So I'll say Alabama, Houston, Purdue, and I think Kansas will be the one to wind up snagging a number 1 seed. I wouldn't be surprised if they win their tournament.
Unranked Northwestern still has a chance to win the Big Ten.
Ain't that some shit, yo? Like that's crazy,
They're
bro.
not going to be unranked anymore after this week.
Right.
If they are, it's a travesty for sure.
Right.
Cameron Krutwig was that guy's name. Cameron Krutwig from Loyola Chicago.
Okay.
Yeah,
That was quite a run. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah. They had like a 2-year run with him.
Vegas hated them for a while because they were losing some coin on them.
Right.
Let me ask you that if the Big 12, so let's just say Kansas wins the Big 12 Big 12 outright, and let's just say, I don't know, Texas, who's up there as well, they win the Big 12 tournament. Could we see 2 Big 12 teams be number 1 seed, or will one be a 1 and one be a 2?
I don't think that the bracket will give it to us, even though it should be. Excuse me, they'll give it to Houston or something like that, even though Houston has an easier path. But I definitely think that they should.
Always.
Especially Texas and Kansas, like you said. Excuse me. Houston's got to get one of them. If they don't win their tournament, it'll be a shock. Alabama will get one. We might have a surprise, though, in the SEC. I mean, they've got to play multiple games in that tournament to win. There's some good teams in there. They just lost to Tennessee, so anything can happen. And, Pac-12, too. I mean, Arizona looks to me like the best team, but it's a lot of games. It's a lot of games to win that tournament. And, you could have a team lose out quickly early, and then they get, down the road, the championship game for the conference is a not so great team like a USC, and they're playing UCLA, and UCLA gets a win, and then they're number 1 seed. So seeds are important, but when you make your bracket, I mean, they're definitely not the favorites. It's definitely because of circumstance, in my opinion. Maybe they played a road game and they didn't do as well or something like that. So, look at your teams, focus on what you know, who they've beaten, who they've played, and make your decision off of that instead of just what the seeding is, definitely.
Yeah.
Agreed. Man, I appreciate you joining us. You can stick around before we get out of here. I just wanted to get Johnny your thoughts, and man, if you want to chime in, the trade deadline, NBA trade deadline moves, because I mean, who would have thought the Nets 2 weeks ago looked like a real contender, and now they're headed to bottom of the basement of the lottery. That was just them, not including the Lakers moves, who have improved. Who knows what happens with Russ, Westbrook? I mean, all the moves that were made in just like a 72-hour time frame right before the Super Bowl Sunday. So we didn't get to talk about it so much last week. I kind of gave my thoughts, but I wanted to get your guys' thoughts here on NBA trade deadline.
When you hit your wagon to Kyrie Irving, you never know what's going to happen. So, I mean, that's not much of a surprise what wound up happening to the Nets. KD asking to get out after, bro, for you, it's free, bro. Always for you, it's free, Tanner, no doubt. I was surprised KD asked to get out of Brooklyn after Kyrie was already gone, because, they had a good squad going. You got some decent pieces for Kyrie, but, and then he got to pick where he wanted to go, too. So, for him to go to Phoenix, once he gets healthy, that's going to be ridiculous. Him, Booker, and then they didn't even have to trade DeAndre Ayton to get KD. Like, how does that happen? But I like what the Lakers did. I like D'Angelo Russell. I like Rudy Hachimura that they got from Washington. I think that was a low key good move. Besides the KD, I don't know what Kyrie and Luka's going to look like. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
they ain't won a game yet together when they're on the court together.
Yeah, Kyrie's going to have to take he's going to have to just let Luka beat a dude and just be the number 2. You know what I'm saying? Accept the fact that he's a Robin and let Luka do what he does, and then he can play off of Luka like he did off of LeBron. And I think if he's going to do that because he wants to get paid. You know what I'm saying? I don't think they'll make a deep run. Denver is always good. You know what I'm saying? Even though they didn't really do nothing at the trade deadline, but I like the moves the Lakers made. I don't know if it's a little bit too late for the moves that they did, but everybody's gonna be paying attention to what happens in Phoenix. I love Booker. Booker is a baller, and then you put him with KD and then Chris Paul. That's just it's almost not fair. So we'll see what happens in the West, but some good moves.
The West got tougher, man.
The
West
got really hard. Nothing really major happening in the Eastern Conference. Say some little low key moves or whatever, but nothing major like what happened in the West. So it's gonna be interesting to see what happens there. But I mean, if you got a healthy KD, a healthy book, and if CP3 can somehow stay healthy for the playoffs for the first time in 4 or 5 years, that's a really hard out, man.
Yeah, I think that Kyrie said it best when he was asked when he moved to Dallas. He said it's easy to play when people care about you or something along those lines. I'm paraphrasing. He sounds like a bitter ex. I mean, it's just unfortunate because I love Luka Doncic, but I don't think, again, this is going to work. As soon as they can't figure it out and they start losing multiple games, Kyrie's going to be right back at it, how everything is everybody else's fault and, this, that, and the other thing. So I'm really surprised that Mark Cuban and Dallas went with that move. I would have.
They had to do something, though,
right? It was desperation, bro.
They had to. They had to get Lucas some help. I mean,
right.
Jalen Brunson's gone. I mean, they didn't really give up a whole lot to get Kyrie. So why not pair up Luka and Kyrie? I don't really know how I feel about the pairing because I feel like they're very both ball-oriented players. Like, how can they? Who's going to play the Robin?
That's what I'm saying. Kyrie's just going to have to just bite the bullet and accept it. And then it'll be similar to like him and LeBron, where LeBron was kind of, ball dominant. Because you could post Luka. Like the kid is phenomenal, bro. So you could post him up. You can put him at the elbow. You can put him anywhere, and he could be the center of the offense and just have everybody else moving around. So, I mean, it can work if Kyrie just accepts the fact that he's the number 2 and play. And again, he's going to do whatever because he wants that big payday after the season. So I don't think they'll make a deep run, but I think, he'll be the good soldier just to make sure he gets paid. But I hope it doesn't, negatively affect Luka because that kid is something special. But I mean, Mark Cuban, man, like you got to find him somebody, bro.
Yeah, it was definitely desperation. I mean, Luka really does need somebody like Kyrie, and if Kyrie does take that role on, he's one of the best players to get other. He's an assist machine.
Right.
He's really good with passing the ball. He just doesn't want to, and he is talented.
Right.
But basketball is a game of chemistry. Look at the Celtics; that is a perfectly chemistry team. I think that they played. I believe it was the 76ers or Bucks recently without Tatum, Brown, and they went to overtime.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody it was like a 12-point favorite for the Bucks because everybody was out. It doesn't matter. This team is so chemistry oriented. So if they can't do that in Dallas, it's going to be a huge L. It's just going to prolong Luka's potential success in the playoffs. And then KD, I mean, that's just, if I was KD, I'd want to leave Brooklyn too. That travesty of an organization. They're getting all their picks back from when they got the big 3 from the Celtics.
Right.
But if he is healthy, it'll be Celtics Suns in the finals. I would be shocked if it was anything else. I mean, I guess the Bucks, definitely could beat the Celtics, but that is a super team for sure. There's nobody in the West that I think has enough firepower to beat Chris Paul, Kevin Durant.
Denver can be. I think Denver can give him some problems.
Yeah, but is Jamal Murray going to stay healthy?
You know what I'm
saying? That's the thing.
It's Murray and Jokic, which
right.
Me personally, I will say it now. Jokic is the best player in basketball.
Yes.
But if he doesn't have, a KD next to him, like everybody,
Well, he's got Murray, he's got Porter, Aaron.
Yeah, he's got some good young players, but he ain't got that. He ain't got that true number 2. You know what I'm saying? If he had a true number 2, then I'd be more worried about Denver. Because he's so much fun to watch, bro.
Yeah, Denver's the same.
He is a joy to watch. Bro.
Denver's the same team that they were last year, and we saw what happened.
Well, Murray's got to be consistent. That's what I think.
Right.
Murray's just got to be consistent.
Yeah,
like he's inconsistent.
Porter should be more dominant. You know what I'm saying? Like he's so big, so athletic. Like, but everybody and their mother wants to shoot threes all the time, bro. He could be so much more dominant if he actually wanted to go to the hole and play down low. It's a post game, man. But I don't know, man.
And
it's a different game, man.
And the Lakers trade, that's all well and good, but they'll all be sitting at home in about a month and a half, so it doesn't really matter.
Yep.
Can they make a run into the playoffs with the Lakers? Can LeBron? I don't trust AD. I call him Street Clothes Davis because
right.
I mean, he's hurt all the time. He's in more street clothes than I am, So
yeah, the bottom of the West is definitely, at least the play in any way, is easily attainable. They just have to win games, and it seems like they can't. I mean, they did just beat the Pelicans, which is good. But they're just super inconsistent, and they're I think 3 or 4 games back right now. Oklahoma City is the last seed in the play-in, and that's a young team that just wants to win, and it's going to be hard, but they can definitely do it. Once they get to the play-in, I think they can make a run in the 6th seed. But other than that, I mean, if they play the Suns or the Nuggets, it's going to be a 4-0 series sweep. I don't care that LeBron's there. The team just doesn't have enough to beat a team like the Suns or the Nuggets.
I think he's going to play well with D'Angelo Russell, though. I think D'Angelo Russell, if he can stay consistent, he'll be that's a nice piece. Yeah, that's a nice piece to have. You know what I'm saying? A true point guard that's going to want to pass for, you know what I'm saying, as opposed to Russell Westbrook. So I think that's a good pickup there.
He's the anti-Kyrie Irving.
Basically, he's just unfortunately he's just not as good.
Oh, he's not as good.
You know what I'm saying? But he's a good player. He's a good point guard. So I think he's going to help them out a lot. But when you got LeBron, you never know. But the key, like you said, is Anthony Davis. Is he going to play more than 2 or 3 games in the playoffs? You know what I'm saying?
If at all. I mean,
right, if at all. If he stays healthy and LeBron's healthy, then you never know. But you know what I'm saying? With Anthony Davis, I wouldn't trust him. No.
LeBron, let me ask you one more question before we get out of here. You mentioned Russ Westbrook. What's the best place for Russ Westbrook to go to? Because it looks like he's going to be getting a buyout. And I'll even add Kevin Love, who's looking for a buyout.
Yeah, Kevin Love just got out. I mean, he's looking to buy out. Yeah, he's
to
looking to buy out too.
Those 2 guys, 2 Hall of Fame basketball players. Russ, for what it is, I don't know why he got all the hate in LA. I didn't like the pairing with him and LeBron to begin with. But by God, Russ Westbrook still plays his ass off for you every day in and day out. And he's still a walking triple-double. Is he ever going to be a great shooter? No, he's not. That's not his game. His game is much like LeBron's, is he's going to create for others and score at the rim. And that's why I didn't like him and LeBron's pairing. But Johnny, go ahead and give me the teams that you could see Russ and K-Love playing for.
I think Russ needs to leave the West. Honestly, I think he'd be a nice fit coming off the bench for Miami or somebody like that. Kevin Love, I wouldn't be surprised if he winds up. He could possibly go to Miami too. They need a big. But I think Russ would do good in Miami. He could always get the easy ticket and go.
Him and Jimmy together, that's some dogs on the team.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. Russ gives you 110% all the time. You know what I'm saying?
Him and Jimmy too. Yeah, he fits their culture.
You got him coming off the bench. I think that'd be a good one. Not for nothing, but you put him in Milwaukee coming off that bench there, and he gets to run the second team there. I mean, talk about, you know what I'm saying, a threat coming off the bench from Milwaukee. That's just, you know what I'm saying? That'll be a nice one there, but it's going to be interesting. Kevin Love, I wouldn't be surprised if he winds up going to LA and going to get back with LeBron. You know what I'm saying? Because they're not going to have to pay him nothing.
Or Phoenix. Matt, what you got?
Yeah, Westbrook needs to be on a team where he can run the backups. Mm-hmm. I guess I would say maybe Denver could use the help. I mean,
True.
There's nothing wrong with extra bench. I don't think they want to take on what Russ has kind of created for himself, and that is, I guess, not so much drama, but he does want the ball. So I don't know if they want to affect the chemistry. So it's kind of hard to put a spot for Russell besides one of these bottom feeder teams like Houston, where he can be the most dominant player for the whole season. And then for Kevin Love, I think a perfect spot would be Golden State. I think that they've had some injuries. He's a veteran player. He's a big too. So, the Splash Brothers need, that extra height. I think that would be a perfect move for them.
Yeah, I like the Warriors.
They just got rid of Wiseman too. So yeah, that's a good one, man.
Aspect, yeah, that is true. Wiseman got traded. He was part of it.
And that's one of those teams. They got the experience. They got the pedigree. If they get healthy, watch out for Golden State, man.
Matt, where can we go before you get out of here? Go ahead and get those plugs in. Where can we catch you at?
So Twitter, Let's Talk Bets. We have our Twitter page. I do daily picks every single day, just about. And we review them on Let's Talk Bets, which is now at 6 p.m. on Fridays. We're going to review the 7 o'clock games, the later games on Friday, and then the Saturday slate for MLB, NHL, NBA, all of that since the NFL season's over. And then obviously we got March Madness coming up too, so we're going to be talking about that. But yep, Twitter, and we'll see everybody at 6 o'clock tomorrow.
Awesome. Nice. Hey, you got Johnny Cruz as your co-host too, or is that one of the ones Johnny?
No, I haven't been invited yet.
Johnny's more than welcome.
You're reworking. Johnny's got to rework it in his contract. You know, Johnny's expensive, man. I mean, shoot.
He's got to write on that puppy dog calendar. Just to
yes, absolutely, man.
Johnny, go ahead. What do you got going on the rest of the week, man?
The rest of the week, well, tomorrow I'll have Let's Talk Dolphins tomorrow. So I got some defensive coordinator news and see what's going to happen with Tua. I might touch on that a little bit as always. But I got the Let's Talk Dolphins tomorrow. Saturday I got a special interview, but I'm not going to put it out. I'm not going to put out the name until the show comes out. But and then of course Monday night 8 p.m. on Let's Talk Sports. It's the Johnny Cruz show every Monday night 8 p.m. And then of course I'm here with you every Thursday until your kids' basketball season is over. Are you going to move it back to Wednesday, or are we keeping it on Thursday?
I don't know yet. Right now it's on Thursday, man. So
but I'm riding, shotgun with you, you know what I'm saying, on either Wednesday or Thursday nights, man. So I'm good, man.
Hey, well, I appreciate it. Again, I'll be back on Sunday. Huge guest. I'm like Johnny, I like to spoil it. So it's locked in. We're going to announce it tomorrow, but I'll just announce it tonight too, because we're going to announce it tomorrow. Son of a Hall of Fame football coach, and this guy was a great football coach himself. Johnny knows him from his days at Clemson. It's none other than Tommy Bowden is going to be my guest on the Bodkin Show this Sunday night. I believe 7 o'clock Central, 8 p.m. Eastern. So super excited for Mr. Tommy Bowden, son of obviously Hall of Fame football coach Bobby Bowden, but Tommy did pretty damn good himself. In fact, he won Coach of the Year one year, and two-time ACC Coach of the Year. So had himself a nice little run as well as a coach. So it'll be good to catch up with the one and only Tommy Bowden. Can't wait for that.
Shout out Dan Harris with his super producer.
Yeah, hey, Tommy Bowden don't know what he's about to get into when he's getting on get into the Bodkin Show, baby. But
that's a must watch right there, man.
I am super excited. Night. Yeah, super excited. Sunday night, we'll be putting it out tomorrow on the socials to kind of promote it, and we will put it out again on Sunday as well. So join us. 7 o'clock Central, special time zone time. When you got these big guests like Tommy Bowden, you clear out the day. I'll take any time he gets. So 7 o'clock Central, special time, 8 Eastern for Mr. Tommy Bowden.
Click on that bell, people. Click on that bell.
Yeah, gonna click on the bell. It'll be here on Let's Talk Sports and the Bodkins channel. So be a friend, tell a friend. We'll be back Sunday. Matt, Johnny, I appreciate you guys. As always, it's been a pleasure. It's been another great episode of The Bodkin Show. Be a friend, tell a friend. Tommy Bowden, baby's coming on Sunday. Can't wait to talk football with the old ball coach, Tommy Bowden. It's going to be a great conversation. So we'll see you then. I'm going to hit that outro right meow, baby.